Hi, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am here with my best friend in the whole world, Chelsea Rose, who is a love coach, and we have had the amazing privilege and experience of having our businesses side by side over the last, she's had hers for a lot longer than mine, but the last 5 years, just working alongside each other and sometimes collaborating and always giving each other support and advice. And it's been so fun to have that part of our friendship. But today I decided to bring her on to my YouTube channel to talk to you guys about something that we just did a deeper training interview on for her series, which is called the Irresistible Woman series. And I got to be a part of it along with 23 other peers and colleagues in the sphere. So we wanted to just share a little bit more about what we talked about in that training and give you guys a taste because it was so potent and it wasn't long enough. But we're going to just dive into that a little bit today and talk about why or how to become an irresistible woman. So welcome, Chelsea. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you chose that word for your series?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love you so much. And I feel so connected to your audience because they're an extension of you and I love you. And so anyways, I love everyone watching, even if I haven't met you yet. Um, yeah, I love this word irresistible. I believe that every single woman has the power to be extremely irresistible and not necessarily irresistible to everyone, but irresistible to her dream man. And there's a effortlessness about attracting your dream man and having this lasting true love partnership when you tap into your irresistible essence. Really, it is about your essence. It's about being, so deeply connected to who you are and allowing that to be revealed and being so authentic about what you desire, what you love, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. I know we'll talk more about that specifically. And it's really about enjoying yourself in the presence of a man and enjoying yourself in your life and approaching dating from this place of like having an overflowing cup where you're so in love with your life, you're so in love with everything you have going on, and you're seeking or you're open to a relationship as the cherry on top of your delicious life that you're leading from your heart and from your values. So that's sort of a quick overview. There's a lot of components to it, but yeah.
I love that. I like that you started off by saying, like, we're not necessarily going to be irresistible to everyone. And a lot of people don't talk about that. But I think that helps to clarify some things because I think a lot of women who are studying feminine energy and, working on implementing these ways of being into their life almost make it like a goal, or they're comparing themselves to like the impact and effect it's making on men instead of the way they're feeling around men. Um, because the truth is, it doesn't matter how perfectly feminine you are, or magnetic, or irresistible. If you're just like almost putting on the ways of being to get a result like that, it's always going to be a little off. And really what came to me is it's not sustainable. So I love, that's one of, I feel like Chelsea's main messages is she's always talking about like your dream man. And it makes a huge difference when we're out in the dating world, um, because it's like we're not trying to get every single guy to like us. We're just, our job is to drop deeper into our authentic self, and then from that place magnetize and attract.
I love that. And I love the piece where you said, stop focusing on the result or like the effect you have on men and focus more on how do you feel with men and bringing the focus back to, and I believe we go really deep into this. I know we do in our training, but coming back to what works for me and owning that so deeply, not what's going to work for this guy that I hope that I get, that I hope pursues me. It's like when you're so connected to this is what works for me, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, it is polarizing. And that's a good thing because we don't want every single guy chasing us. That would be stressful. But what you're looking for, like if you are one of a kind, which obviously you are like a beautiful snowflake, goddess, woman, one of a kind on this earth, that there will never be another woman like you, and there never has been. Well, the same is true for your true love partner. And the more authentic you can be about who you are and what you love and what works for you, and unapologetic about that and detached about that, meaning you're not going to try to make it work with someone who isn't already a match for that, the easier it is for him to find you, for him to come into your vortex and spot you and be like, that's my woman. It's your frequency is very specific, and so is his. And so embrace the polarizing effect, of this, which means you're going to repel the men who are not a match for you as strongly as you're going to attract the right one. And so, yeah. And you probably will have a lot of men like looking at you when you step into this. It is magnetic to a lot of people, but ultimately a true connection will only happen with that potent few people who really you could build a life with. And,
Absolutely. And I would argue that, like, I know, okay, this is the first time I'm saying it publicly ever, but I'm in a relationship. And I'm not gonna talk about it it's amazing. I feel like having it here. Huh?
And I get to meet him so soon, and you guys will be staying in this room. It converts to the guest room.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I needed you to like share that with everyone. But so I feel like before like I got started, I'm not gonna talk about it, but I've definitely experienced in my history with dating and relationship that it can actually be really confusing when a lot of guys are chasing you, because at that point, if you're at that point, all of those guys are actually pretty close, and we can tend to think that we should give those guys a chance. But what I found is the reason that I think I'm in the situation that I'm in now, where I'm actually in a relationship instead of just, whatever, is because I started to develop this discernment where even if a guy was at 80% match, there were things that were just became these non-negotiables for me that were so refined and like specific, that I was just, I remember one of them was like, anytime a guy would ask me to like they would maybe invite me over for dinner and they'd be like, will you bring dessert? I was like so unattracted. Chelsea knows all about this. I was so unattracted to it because I'm like, I am the dessert. Like, no. Okay, anyway, I should maybe have not.
So many legendary lines. We need a reality TV show where you're like the expert teaching everyone what to do. Oh my God.
No,
I am the dessert. How dare you?
The point is like there were all these like these men that were like such great potential partners, but there were these little things where my body was like, that's an ick for me. Like that actually does not align with the value that I know I bring and what I'm committed to receiving, and the way I'm committed to being provided for and courted and taken care of. And it's challenging to get to that place because you might be challenging yourself to be asking for more than you've ever expected from a man. So you have to hold that line for yourself and them. But like Chelsea is saying, it's like instead of I've explained it before to my audience, like it's like instead of attracting people, you become a beacon and you like arise above everyone, and you're like a lighthouse, and you're specifically calling forth like the right frequency, like the exact match for you. So yeah, I have more to say, but I won't toss it back to you.
And you also look like such a smitten kitten, like when you're talking. I know she knows how that feels. She knows how that feels. I love how you brought up, you said, I know the value that I bring. And I think, so we go deep into that in our training, which I loved. I think that this is one of the biggest pitfalls for women where they block their irresistibility, is like how challenging it can be to stand in your value and to embody this energy of, I know, not only do I know what I want, but I'm willing to receive it, because I bless myself as worthy. I see my own value. And it's not from like a fake place or a egotistical place. It's genuine embodied self-worth. And that's like maybe a whole other topic for another day, potentially, that can be a journey to reclaim it. But that is such an important, that's such a essential part of becoming irresistible, is embodying your value. And we can practice by saying no, like Anya's example of, no, that's not going to work for me. I am the dessert, or just responding, I am the dessert, right? I think every time you voice your boundaries or your preferences, it does strengthen your self-worth, even if it's terrifying and extremely uncomfortable. So I think that's a really practical way. I always say, when women ask me, what's the fastest way to increase your self-worth? And I just say, act like a woman who has high self-worth. That's the fastest way. So you just push yourself to take the action that feels really foreign and uncomfortable, and it will slowly build. But I just wanted to highlight, because I think that's such an important thing that you said, is when an irresistible woman knows her value and is embodying her value, and therefore attracts a man who adequately like mirrors her value back to her. And we can't have that if we're not a match for it. So I
Yep.
think
We won't, that, and it's such a big key distinction when we realize that the only reason we are attracting that kind of caliber of man finally is because you get to a point where you would not allow anything less. So anyone who would allow anything, or anyone who brings anything less, is just simply not, does not, it's not that they don't enter your field, but you don't notice them, you don't consider them, they're not part of the game. But again, going back to like, it can be confusing if you do, because all of a sudden now they're like 10 potential suitors, but really none of them are actual suitors who are bringing what you require and need. So we can get really, really, just distracted. I remember before I like got into this relationship, and I was in a really, really powerful phase of my life where I even wrote on my Instagram, like, I have 6 men in my life: my dad, my brother, my grandpas, and my 3 uncles. And there's room for one more, and that's my future husband. I have zero need for male friends. I have zero desire for situationships. So any man who was wanting to be a part of my life, but they weren't going to really, really court me, they couldn't actually be ready for a relationship, a friend, they were all cut out. I was like, I don't actually need you guys. Like, my energy is so valuable, and I have a limited amount because I have given it to a lot of men who really did not have what it took to really, really cherish and take care of me. And I don't take that personally, but I gave so much of my energy away, that I was now working with like this limited amount. And I was like, I actually want to give this to the men that have devoted to me my whole life, the men in my family. And there's room for one more, and that's my husband. And that was such a powerful time, because I kicked a lot of guys out of my life. And if they, tried to get back in, I was like, no, this is what I need for you to come back in. But I wanted to add one other thing, like with, so what we dove a lot into in our training together inside of her series is this idea that to become irresistible, an irresistible woman is also a woman who feels really good. Like Chelsea was saying, in every area of her life, she's thriving and she's happy and stoked out. And to break that down, like, how do you become a woman that feels good in her life? And what we dove a lot into in the training is, so we'll just talk a little bit about it right now, but it's being so committed to, it's actually really knowing yourself enough to know what works for you, what makes you feel good, what you need to thrive, and what your vision is for your life. And like, I see this big shift happen in my clients when they start to accept and acknowledge that, like, this life is literally theirs. Like, this is your life. And yet we find ourselves compromising in all these small or large ways. And it hurts us, and it causes pain, it causes depression, because our soul is trying to communicate, like, you are not meant to give up on those commitments to yourself. You are not meant to give up on those dreams and needs and, you know,
Mhm.
requirements. So I want to just dive into that for a little bit as well, and have you add to that as well, because I'm sure you have stuff.
Hmm. Thank you. I love everything that you said so much. You said two really big points, with the first one being about allowing what you allow and what you don't. And um, that was so powerful. Just cheering you on for that, and all the women listening. I got spot for a space for one man. I really relate to that. And I feel very similarly about that. I'm like, I have my family and I have my husband. I'm really happy. that's, that's that's the high quality standard. So I love this idea of, yeah, getting super connected to your vision for your life. I think sometimes I witness women, I think we all do this with certain desires in our life, where there's something we want the most, and maybe maybe we know deep down that that's going to be the area of deepest fulfillment, or the area in our life that is, if we had to pick, is the most important to us, or at least at this time. And we can expect that when we find that man, or we get that dream job, or we get that type of house, that that's going to be the thing that provides us with the feeling that we're looking for and the overflow that we're looking for. And this can be a tricky topic, because it will make you happy when you find the right guy. It will make you happy when you get alignment in these areas, but we have to come from this deep place of empowerment, of self-sourcing as much as we can our feelings of satisfaction, our feelings of joy, our feelings of meaning and purpose, and prioritizing what is most important to us. That's going to be completely unique to every single woman, what makes her happy. And I think just not expecting that when you find the dream guy, that that's where all your happiness is going to come from. He really gets to be something that continues. I was interviewing actually John Gray as a part of my series, and I love what he said. And he was saying, like, your life gets to be good or even great, and then when your man comes in and you get to relay this to him, he makes it extraordinary, right? Like, he takes it to the next level. But you're not coming from mediocre. You're not going to the dating situation as like, my life is okay, and I need you to make my life amazing. It's like, you really get to, yeah, live your best life as best as you can with what you have, and self-source that happiness, and recognize that he's going to add to it, like the icing on a cake, or the cherry on top of a sundae, and not be the source of it. And I know that at many times in my life, when I'm like maybe trying really hard to achieve something, or I'm stressed, or I'm sort of like running on empty, I can fall into that way of thinking of like, if I just get this thing, everything's going to be better. And we really have to call ourselves out for that, and go deeper into, okay, what is it that I'm really craving? And I don't think we're ever in a place where we don't have access to sourcing that now, while we're still single, or while we're in transition, trusting that you are an abundant, resourceful, magnetic woman, and you can create that. And then he's going to come in a lot faster from that place.
Oh my gosh, such a powerful. Oh, so good. I resonate with all of that so much. And I definitely, it took me a long time to really get to the point where I was like, love and a man is really, really, really not going to be the answer to my happiness. Um, and like, I wish I could transfer over the outcome of all of the process that I went through to get to that point, because it's not as easy. Obviously, we've heard that 1,000 times, but what is the thing that makes it click and us to actually step into that energetically? Um, One thing that helped me is just breaking down my life into the different areas. And Chelsea knows I have this, but it's like I call it my alignment tracker. And I like, literally it's the Virgo projector specific manifester in me, but really, really breaking down your life and committing to getting every single area into alignment and feeling good. And the thing that happens is when we take ownership of our happiness at that level, we pour our hearts into making a life that we feel really happy about. We actually get very protective about it. And so, you know, we don't take some straggler off the street guy who might be really hot and, you know, like offer all these things. And I don't mean like literally off the streets, but I mean just like, you know, he has not really a direction, drive, purpose that he's committed to taking you on with him. He's kind of like, let me just drag you into this situationship or something. When those kinds of opportunities come, you are a lot less likely to engage in them, if likely at all, because you're like, that's a distraction from my commitments. That will derail me.
Mm.
That will, you know, take my energy, that will drain me. You start to get very protective of your life. I think that's definitely a sign of an irresistible woman. She's protective of her energy and her life because they're people and things that she loves. And anything that isn't contributing and adding more is taking away from those people and the things that she loves and her dreams and her goals. And one other thing that I wanted to add is like, it really is not any different to find alignment outside of a relationship as it is to find alignment inside of a relationship. And I'm learning that in like it's really fun to, you know, navigate, okay, like for a while I was working with like manifesting this and receiving this gift from God and like, you know, experiencing these things come together in my life and land. And now I'm in it and like I'm not in question of like, is that going to land? But now how do I know how to find alignment when I'm alone, when I'm single. How do I find alignment when I'm in a partnership? And it's actually not that much different. You factor in someone else, but you don't make decisions necessarily based on them. You make decisions still based on what is right for you, because that's the only way you can navigate successfully forward. You have to stay in connection and committed to what works for you, what is in alignment for you. That's the way we bring our soul into the direction like our future goes with our person. Otherwise, you will lose yourself. You have to keep connecting into what's right for you. And I think that for people who lose themselves in relationship a lot, I have always been that person. I think this is a really key thing to work on is, okay, I have this tendency to lose myself. What do I need from my life, period? You know, like what I still have a life and it's separate from that person. So you still get to find alignment with you, and there's still a cherry on top that gets to follow you, but they're not responsible for your alignment. And you don't rely on them for your happiness still. It's like they just get to partner with you. So I know you have a lot on this because you've been married to an amazing man for a while now. And
Like forever, what feels like forever now. Oh, I resonate so much with what you're saying. And I was going to bring it to that last point, but you went there anyways. I was going to say, oh, this, I feel like such a big pitfall for women is losing themselves. And what you're talking about is the anecdote to that pattern. And I love how you're sharing. I totally agree. This is a skill that supports you for life. It's not just in attracting the right partnership and getting to the commitment. It's like for a lifetime of happiness together, each person in the relationship gets to be continuously committed to their own alignment and their own happiness. And when you're with the right person, there's not a whole lot of compromising necessary, at least not in my reality. And I know that might be a question coming up for people, but you're like two puzzle pieces, you know, like your alignment is going to support his alignment is going to support your alignment. And that's the beauty of being with the right person. But it can be easy to sort of get lazy or sort of like, oh, I finally got what I wanted. And now just losing losing the commitment to the other parts of your life. And something that Anya and I have talked about, this is related, but maybe I'm going off in a slightly different direction. We've talked about just as friends is like, keep every area of your life. You've inspired me a lot with this on the same plane. Don't put one area on a pedestal. So we've been talking about how it's easy for women who love is the number one priority. We celebrate that. That was my truth. And that has been Anya's truth at times too. Like that has been a number one priority. That's beautiful. You can acknowledge that that is maybe what's most important to you in your life. However, not to accidentally put that area of your life on a pedestal, because just to echo what Anya is saying, that won't make you happy, right? So have every area of your life be equal value, importance. That's what's going to help you stay centered And I've done this a few different times where I'll just make a list. I know Anya is all about this. She, with her, what you just described is like your alignment checklist. But write out every area of your life and like get intimate with what does alignment look like in that area? What do I want to feel in that area? What makes me happy in that area? And I think this is challenging to do at times too for me, but I think we're more comfortable focusing on maybe one or two areas. 90% of our energy will go to one or two areas in our life. And maybe one of them is work or your business or whatever. And the other one is maybe love. But it's like, what about my spirituality and my health and my friendships and my family? And like really dispersing your focus and your energy. That's what's coming to mind as one of the things to reflect back. That's been so helpful, because then it also takes the pressure off of needing, if one area you feel like you're struggling in, it sort of softens your judgment of that. Because it's like, well, all these other areas are thriving and they're all equally important, even though society might tell us that your job or your love life are the most important in the world. It's like you can sort of relax and give yourself the time and patience to sort that out without thinking your value as a woman has gone down because this one area is out of alignment. You know?
Exactly. It's like you still feel successful because all these other things that you have control over in that moment, you can work on and are working. I'll put, so the link to Chelsea's series, The Irresistible Woman, is free. It's a free, life-changing series, and it's free, and it's going live next week, or almost a little over next week.
The last date to sign up is November 12th, and then it goes live the next day on the 13th. Yeah.
So we'll put that, and then I'll also put, because I call it Goddess Life or Designer Life, and it's what Chelsea just described. So I break down like the different areas of life, and I have it as like a pie chart, so you can really see how it's like they're all equally yoked. So I'll just put that down also as a resource. It's free, and you guys can have that as well.
That's your homework. That's your homework.
Yes, exactly. That's prep for the interview that we did. That booklet is prep for that. So one last thing I wanted to add, with you said, like with the right person, you don't really have to compromise. So what I'm learning is with the right person, you don't have to compromise, but that doesn't mean you don't have to communicate. Like you don't need to communicate. So you may be with the right person and yet feel like you're compromising in all these areas of your life because you haven't owned your needs and your requirements and communicated that, not from a place of, I think I need this, help me get this. No, it's from a place of, I have a commitment to this period in my life. If it's like, it's not an ultimatum of like, if you're my partner, but you're like, I have a commitment to being in a partnership where I'm supported in this. That's the thing that I think I used to struggle with in the past, is I would always ask for my needs to be met from a place of asking for my needs to be met, rather than, hey, I have a need that needs to be met, period. And this is what it is. And we can say that from like a, loving feminine space, but it's very queen like. It's very like, it's clear.
It's not an optional thing.
Exactly. And so I think when we say like, you don't have to compromise with the right person, the reason that we create that reality is because we're not compromising in ourselves about getting those things, about creating that reality and that dream life. Like my partner knows my commitments in my life and what I am committed to creating in my future. And he joined in on that. Like he's committed to making that happen because I'm not committed to letting those things go. But if I hadn't made those commitments to myself so deeply and clearly, then I would be compromised in this relationship. I would be compromising in this relationship. So I think, whether you're in a relationship or single, there's a lot of self-reflection to do here and work to do, in the sense of, and I'm still working on this. I'm not perfect by any means, but it's so fun to finally realize, like you're saying, Chelsea, it's not really an option. And that's that irresistible woman is like, oh, she's going in that direction because that's what's best for her. And one of the biggest things that we dove really deeply into in our training together in the Irresistible Woman is the reason that we stand so strongly for us all to be this committed to our requirements is because we know what is best for us. And we cannot be in our power as women. We can't be in our feminine energy if we are letting go of the things that we need and we require. We know. And if we don't connect to those and stay committed to receiving them, then we're letting down every single person in our life. Like we're not able to be our best self. So it's actually deeply responsible to hold these requirements. And it's I would say codependent not to. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things there. So
Oh my gosh, so well said. I'm so excited for you guys to get like the part 2, even deeper version of everything we're talking about inside our interview together, our interview training that we did in this series. And I resonate so deeply with everything that you said, Anya. So eloquent. And I had so much fun recording that with you and getting to like give you the floor to just shine your light and teach us everything that you have, all the wisdom that you have on this topic. So I'm super excited for you guys to get to see that.
yeah, and along with the training that we did together, there's literally 22 other ones as well. So you can watch all of them, pick and choose the ones that are interesting to you. But when you sign up, you get all of it, and it's literally all free. So
Yes, for a short period of time too. So make sure you join by November 12th. And what else was I gonna say? So yeah, 22 other amazing experts that I'm interviewing there. And oh, I know I was gonna share the subtitle, which I love. So it's called the Irresistible Woman series. And the subtitle is Attract Your Fairy Tale Love Story Through Feminine Embodiment. So I'm super excited about that. And we'll be going really deep into all the different aspects of your feminine embodiment. And I believe making it really simple when this tends to be an area of a lot of confusion for women and a place where women end up accidentally becoming less authentic. And where I stand, like what we're talking about today, for you to become deeply authentic. That what feminine embodiment is really about. And that is what makes you irresistible. So there's so much there for you. I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of it.
I love you guys so much. Love you, Chelsea. Thank you. And I'm excited for everyone to experience your series.
Thanks for having me. Me too.